Wheeling is probably the oldest and most widely recognized trick of all cycling, but sometimes they can be a bit tricky to learn. However, there are a lot of great tutorials out there, which is great, but I think people sometimes need something more than a tutorial. Often, when people are learning a new skill, they get to a spot where they stop making progress, then lose motivation. If this is you, then hopefully by watching me fail, you can summon the energy to start practice again. But I want to give you something more, something that could get you out of the rut where you don't make progress 10 times quicker. So, without further ado, let's begin. Let's start at the beginning. That would be 3 years ago. I started by watching every single wheelie video on YouTube. But as we said, comprehending the technique is the easy part. Putting into practice is a bit harder. These clips are pretty close to my very first wheelies ever, and I was just like everybody else. My first wheelies frankly sucked. You can take a look for yourself. But the point that needs to be made here is simply the fact that I started. My age didn't matter, and as you can see, my bike didn't either. Whether you're on a full rigid 26-inch or a full suspension 29er, both are equally capable of being wheelie. All the videos I watched agreed on one thing: learn to loop out. That means purposefully falling off the back of the bike. If you learn how to do this, then you no longer have to have the fear of landing on your butt, and you know you can get the front wheel high enough. A simple thought that might help you here is this: raise your seat all the way up and dismount. If you can do this, then you can probably step off the back of the bike just fine. But that's only the beginning. The next step in learning the wheelie is to hold your front wheel in the air. But I didn't start actively practicing this until maybe a year later. In the meantime, I just used the wheelie to get off of stuff. And while that is a legit use of wheelies that is well worth practicing, I still created the skill to get up on the back wheel and hold it there for as long as I wanted. So when I started being intentional about my practice, I focused on one thing: the use of the rear brake. This principle is easy enough to learn. If you are in danger of going too far back, pull the brake and it will save you. However, when you are learning, all you do is feel yourself going too far, then in response you grab a fistful of brake, and boom, you've saved yourself from going off the back, but also ended your wheelie. This skill is hard to learn, as it requires a feel for the brake that I didn't have yet with my current skill. So to practice this, here's what I did.
I'm not kidding. Far enough back. So I'm going to do this exercise. You'll see.
The exercise I am referring to is to go up too far and then pull the brake and try and drop the wheel lightly. This helps you get a feel for the brake modulation necessary to maintain a balanced wheelie. After enough practice, you will eventually gain enough control to hold your wheelie up for a little while. But that won't come until you've tried for what feels like the 1000th time. Now, here's the first time where I just seemed to peak. My wheelies were not getting any better, and I think it's safe to say that a lot of you are also in a similar situation. You experienced some success in the beginning, but now you're not making any headway. Now, there's this thing you may have heard of called flow. Not this type of flow and not this type of flow. The type of flow where you break free from all restraints and morph into a superhuman. You experience freedom, enhance creativity, and do things that you didn't even know you could do. In short, flow shuts down your inner critic. And when you stop criticizing yourself, you stop telling yourself you can't, and you just do. But sadly, most of us do not experience this often enough. And when it does happen, it always seems random. But is it actually random? What if there were a way to trigger flow? Actually, there is. Things that trigger flow are risk, complexity, unpredictability, pattern recognition, and novelty. And that all sounds really weird, but don't knock it till you try it. And if you want proof that these things work, here it is. Take this wheelie. It's almost double the length of a previous wheelie. What changed? I got a new shirt. Seriously, this little tiny dose of something novel, different, and fresh was enough to trigger flow and give me the breakthrough I needed. And if you need further motivation to try this yourself, here's me being very excited about my breakthrough.
Okay, that wheelie was so good. It's just the feeling you get when you actually do something right is insane.
Taking into account that I didn't even know what flow triggers were yet, I'd say that's pretty good evidence that these things aren't gimmicks. However, good things end soon, and this story is far from over. After the breakthrough, I seemed to fall lower than I had previously. My wheelies were shaky, out of control, and my patience was running low with things like the wind. Every time I pulled up in a wheelie, the wind would just push me over again.
It's just too windy. 7-mile-an-hour wind is enough to throw you way off balance. 7! That's like nothing for Kansas. Usually it's 20.
And when you're tired, exasperated, and short, you tend to do drastic things. Never ever treat your bike this way, no matter how frustrated you are. It's just kind of rude and your bike didn't do anything to deserve it. Now, back to the story. So yeah, I was frustrated. So I decided to take a day-long break, which turned into a week, which turned into a month. Frankly, I just lost all momentum and I needed something extra to fuel my practice schedule. So I made the New Year's resolution video, hoping that would force me to start practice again.
Ivan, creator of Flatland Flow, solemnly swear that before the end of 2020, I will know how to wheelie a bicycle indefinitely.
Here's what may not be immediately obvious, and even I didn't realize at the time. Making that video was a risk. I was putting myself out in public, and if I didn't learn to wheelie, it would be really embarrassing for me. And risk, if you remember, is one of the flow triggers. Sure enough, the next time I practiced, I had a breakthrough.
Okay, so I just watched a video for another YouTuber learn to wheelie, and I realized that I just need to forget what I'm trying to work on and just do what I know is right. All I'm doing today is I'm gonna try and wheelie this line to this line.
What I was trying to do was just simply do a wheelie and not worry about my technique.
Realize the problem is not getting the front wheel up, it's holding it up.
So instead of trying really hard to balance side to side, I would just try to let go and let my body do it naturally. Previously, I had observed that the harder you try to force your body to do something, the worse you seem to get at it. So I'm not sure how well I actually pulled this off, but it ended up getting me a really long wheelie.
That was actually really good. Except I could criticize that, but I'm just gonna silence my inner critic, tell myself that was good, and do it again.
And there we have it. The key to learning anything really. If you criticize yourself, it gets a lot harder to make forward progress as you are essentially just stopping yourself dead in your own tracks. But not criticizing yourself is easier said than done, so don't get hung up on it.
Got a lot of work to do. I think I'm actually getting it. I just saw that. When I turn, I go the way I turn. Basically, you go up in the wheelie and then purposefully turn one way and then the other, and then one way and then the other, over and over again until you get the feel for the balance.
Now, balancing a wheelie takes a lot more than just turning your bars, but if you are having trouble, that is a good place to start. But more importantly, my mind just recognized a pattern, and pattern recognition is one of the flow triggers. So, if I were to guess, I'd say I'm about to hit another breakthrough. However, this didn't help me as much as you might think, but it still gave me enough of a boost so that I didn't make backwards progress, and that's a good thing. A week later, I was practicing right after I got a new helmet, as my other one had been compromised. Once more, you can tell Novelty kicked in by the length of the wheelies compared to my previous ones. But this is the first time I realized what the flow triggers were actually doing.
I was watching a video the other day and it was talking about flow triggers and what you can do to help your brain release dopamine and all that stuff. One of the things was novelty. So changing your surroundings, changing your gear. In my case, I just got a brand new helmet and it's working. Seriously.
That's pretty good evidence that flow triggers actually work. But I want to take a moment to honor the significance of something I'm about to say.
Yeah, it's windy and I don't care.
Hold up. Rewind. Do you remember when I said this?
It's too windy.
This proves just how low you can be and still pull yourself out of it. So next time you want to quit, remember that and press on. This part amuses me because it's just funny. I was doing so well with my breakthroughs, and then reality steps in, delivers a slap to my face.
Well, that was stupid.
But now for an actual tip. The key to longer wheelies is balancing side to side, and you can make balancing side to side easier by just going faster. This simple fact is at the basis of all bike riding. When you are learning to ride a bike, you go slow and fall over. But once you gain more confidence, you go faster and it is easier to balance. One other tip that is worth noting is keeping a smooth pedaling cadence. This will aid in your ability to keep the bike at just the right riding position forward to backward. It'll also help you maintain a smoother, better controlled wheelie. Let me show you something. This is how much wheelie footage I have left to process. In fact, all my files amassed to over 120 gigabytes of footage in which I am practicing. So let's take a 15-second summary to get to the grand finale. First, I went through another dry spell of no progress, and that was really annoying. Then, I wheelied across an entire bridge, which was a big improvement that gave me my confidence back. After that, I had a pretty unproductive practice session in which I didn't do anything right. But a week later, this happened.
Well, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I'm having some amazing progress just, when I'm riding around on the trails, just messing around. So, I'm gonna work on not just trying to stay in that balance point without using the brake, and side to side by steering the handlebars, because that's honestly where the whole key is at. What the? I just wheelied all that way. The first try, look, 1 minute 48.7 seconds on the GoPro. Wow.
But I had even bigger dreams, which required an even longer and flatter road.
Try this again. There's no people. I just stomped a huge one over there. So, yeah.
Now, I had this goal in mind to go from all the way down by the road to past where the camera was, and it took me a couple tries to get.
Dang it!
And when the distance is longer and you fail just before the end, for some reason it makes you madder.
Oh, yeah! I did it! Wow! Wheeling is hard work. Okay, so now I'm gonna measure it. I'll tell you in a second.
To measure how far I wheelied, I measured the curb sections, then counted how many of them there were. That came out to 660 feet, which, when you do the math, is just over 1/8 of a mile.
I just wheelied 1/8 of a mile. I'm really happy with that because, yeah.
Translation, yeah means I'm really, really stoked. But if you remember, I said I would like to wheelie 1/2 of a mile.
That goal is going to be 1/2 a mile.
So that means there's going to be a How I Learned to Wheelie Part 2. And if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and find your flow.